Hello.
Good evening, Ayo-Bankole. We're so excited to have you here on our Business Leaders webinar. Thank you for making the time, and we appreciate your presence. So, let's get right into it. Ayo-Bankole is a SME expert who is the founder of Caladium Consulting and the convener of Lagos SME Bootcamp, which is an annual event that's been happening for about 5 years, right? Yes. So on the webinar today, Ayo-Bankole will be speaking to us about structuring your business for growth, being that he's an expert in the field. So welcome to our webinar, Ayo-Bankole. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great. So first things first, I'm going to start up by saying, what does it mean for one to structure their business?
Okay, so um a business can be likened to a country, right? Um you have different countries and different degrees of structure or organization or systems, right? So let me use the word systems, right? So within a business, depending on the maturity stage, you would have the HR system that you use to manage people. You would have the finance system that you use to manage your finance and accounting. You would have the tax system, which can be embedded in the finance system. You would have the corporate planning framework that you use to manage your planning and other things. You would have your core technical operations and the systems and processes that govern your operations. You would have audit and control, all those kind of things, right? Now, when you start at the beginning, depends on the level or the cost or the budget that you use, the capital size that you use to start your business. But most businesses start as nano or micro levels. And most nano and micro businesses usually do not have any of these systems. So the process of putting all of this in place is what we call structure. But again, structure doesn't have to be that advanced, right? Even things as basic as, do I have a logo? Do I have a bank account? Do I generate invoices for my transactions? Do I have an Excel sheet that manages my opportunities from a client, customer relationship management standpoint? Do I have co-founders? Do I have partners? All those kind of things, are structure, but the growth or the evolution of this structure is what then varies based on the size of the business.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. So, would you say for small businesses and for medium-sized enterprises, there's a distinct type of business structure that needs to go on for growth?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. In strategy, there's what we call emergent and then deliberate strategy. So, um, Christensen, the father of disruptive strategy, says that as a new business or as a startup, your very infant stages, you don't necessarily need a deliberate strategy. And I'm adapting the concept around strategy with that of structure. It's the same way as a very small business. You necessarily don't need as much of complicated structure as a large corporate will do, right? Because it will slow you down. You need a lot more agility. You need to be more nimble. So what you need are basic structures, basic governance, adaptable and easily flexible governance systems that can help you then evolve. So as you recruit more people, for example, as you make more money, you can then be expanding on your structure and your systems, right? But if you make very small money, you are the only one in your business, or you are just two or three, you don't need as much of structure as a large organization, because you can see everything happening. Visibility is flat, right? As against when you are now many, you need to put in controls, you need to put in approval matrices, you need to, a lot of things you need to govern. You may not even actually be available. There are different hierarchies. So, so you don't actually, so don't give yourself too much headache if you have just a very small business. But it's important to start the framework for putting in place these things at your small size. so that it's not more expensive as you then become bigger.
I completely agree with you on that. A lot of small businesses struggle with structure eventually as they grow. So it starts from the very minimum at the early stages. What are the structures you put in place that will help you scale to the next level? So my next question is this: scaling your business versus structuring your business. What is the distinction? And do you, in your expert opinion, think that a business can scale without having the proper structures in place?
Um, okay, so I mean, let's first get it straight, right? Several businesses have scaled without structure. So don't let's even first deceive ourselves. The only problem is that a lot of them also then run into trouble because they scaled without structure, you know. But again, not all of them run into trouble. So you can't successfully grow or scale your business without structure, you know.
Yeah.
But most of them run into trouble because as you grow, if you don't have the requisite, again, as I said, a building is like, in this case, let's use a building. You can build a tall high rise with a faulty foundation, but
Hmm.
you may run into trouble. But the trouble will then determine. So the trouble when the trouble will emerge vary. Some, before they finish building, it collapses. We saw what happened in Ikoyi. Some will
Yes.
stay for 20, 30, 40 years. We see buildings collapse in Lagos Island and the likes, right? And people
Yes.
say it's because the buildings are weak. That's not true. There are buildings in the UK that have stayed over 300, 500 years. It's simply because at the very onset, the structures of that building, the engineering structures were faulty. So that's exactly what happens with an organization. If the structures, right, that underpin the building of that business is faulty,
Yeah.
then you most likely will run into trouble. But are you able to build even with the faulty structure? The answer is yes, right? Um, and then, so in terms of the difference between scaling and growth, they are similar, but I think the major difference is the cost involved, right?
Mm.
So your ability to scale means your ability to significantly increase your revenue without commensurate cost to your operations, right?
Mm.
Which is why technology valuations are always higher than brick and mortar valuations. So let me give you a typical example. If I make laptops, if I have a manufacturing company, a physical manufacturing site where I produce, let me use phones, I produce this phone, right? For me to expand or scale my production, right, it will require me either physically investing in expanding my production line, building more production line, or if I want to go to another country, I would have to either get distributors in that country or I will go and establish a new factory in that country, right?
Mm.
But if I'm leveraging tech, if I'm a tech organization, right, I don't even need to be in Ghana before I can scale or pivot into Ghana, right? All I
Yes.
just need to do is deploy my tech. We have several products in Nigeria from Nigeria. In fact, I know several organizations who operate from Kenya or
Yes.
Rwanda,
Yes.
and they are very well used in Nigeria without necessarily even opening an office. Look at Twitter, for example. We've had that debate some time ago about if Twitter should open here or not. They never had a presence, and everybody uses Twitter here, right? So,
Yes.
um, so that's essentially the difference between scaling and growth. On the side of growth, you know, you are growing, both on the cost side, on the revenue side, your people are growing, your revenue is growing, your overhead, everything is growing, right?
Yeah.
So that's essentially the difference. So as an organization, as an agile organization, our aim should be targeted towards achieving scale, right? Especially
Yes.
at the startup stage.
Okay. So I like the response that you gave. I like that you used the word growth. So growth is a word that comes up a lot in the small business, medium-sized enterprise, startup space because I feel like it's the buzzword today. Like a lot of business owners, a lot of experts in the industry are using growth as a buzzword to show that this is what your business needs to get to the next level. So at this point, honestly, it feels like a lot of people are obsessed with their business growth, and I mean it has its merits, but also um we have to face the realities of what it takes to grow a business. So what would you say are the most important parts of a small business or medium-sized enterprise that they need to focus on in order to structure their business to achieve growth?
I mean, the most important thing is finance structure. You follow the money, you put your money where your mouth is, and in fact, look, the major reason why they call it formal or informal aside registration is finance, right?
Hmm.
If you do not have financial trail, or it's called audit trail, nobody can do business with you. Because again, remember when I started, I said an organization is like a country. Now let me use then I said like a building. Now let me use like human being, right? In the face of the law, an organization, a company or a business is recognized as a living thing, as an individual, right?
Yes.
And it is separate and distinct from its owner.
Owner. Yeah.
So what it means is if you do not have finance structures, if you do not have a bank account, if you do not have books, if you do not run that entity's finance as an independent entity, if you merge it with yours, in the face of the law, that business does not exist.
Hmm.
So you can't technically grow that business or scale it. So you can be growing it, but you are growing it. It is you as an individual doing that business that is growing. It's not actually
Yeah.
the business, because you can't walk into a bank and have a conversation and say, these are my books, this is how I've grown, this is my journey, right? You can't even seal certain type of deals. There are some types of transactions, organizations that will not even do business with you if they do not see traction in your bank statements, right?
I agree.
On and on and on. So the most important is finance. Finance structuring is an organization is extremely important, right? And that's why at the Lagos SME Bootcamp we spend a lot of time teaching SME owners on how to organize their finance for. And there's this misconception that is expensive to manage finance. People, taxmen will chase me.
Um, to be
This.
honest, Bankole, I believe it's expensive to manage finance. You know how much it costs. I'm sure you are aware of how much it costs to do audited financial statements, which most financial institutions require before they fund you. It's very expensive. It's an expense that most small businesses
Mm.
or medium-sized
Yeah.
enterprises do not want to invest in. So it's expensive to an extent.
So you are right, but again, context. So the law, the Finance Act 2020 already excludes micro businesses that earn less than 25 million a year from company income tax, from audited accounts, right? So you
Yeah.
don't necessarily even need to audit your account. But even if you will, there are different sizes of people. That's why I was going to get there, that as a micro or small business, don't be comparing yourself with Tolani's company that has, stupid money, right?
Eh?
So you need to have Tolani. Let's forget
I
that.
am Bankole.
You
I
and
don't
I
like.
know. Oh,
I don't.
please.
Why are you
So
like? You're my guy in this game.
the
Why are
thought
you
of
like?
us who are still upcoming in this business, we know how we do it. You have a friend who is an accountant, who is also in your own level, growing with along your size. He can help you manage your books for a token. At the end of the year, he introduces you to somebody who does audit at a token. You do the audit, you move on, right? If you
Mm,
are unable to afford audit at that time, he helps you prepare your books, right? In fact, you don't even need to have him on retainer. All you need is engage people like us or Tolani, to help you do a decent template,
yeah.
and you can then use that. But you then need to learn finance for non-finance professionals. If you're listening to this, please go on Udemy or Coursera or open source YouTube and look for courses on understanding finance and account for non-finance and account professionals, so that you can have a basic understanding of how accounting and finance works. So that
That's very
when
good advice.
yeah, so that when you come up with this, and we're now building a community where we launched a few months ago, but we're still building the tech community. It's called Feather Gap, that also helps you as an individual, as a small business, go online, access resources, talk to your peers, talk to experts, at low cost on how you can organize your business from different standpoints. At
Mm.
the boot camp next Saturday, we would also be talking, we'll be breaking it down to granular details. How can you organize your finance? What are the reliefs that exist in the tax space so that you can know, so that you won't be afraid that, oh, if I organize my finance, if I open an account, if I do this, it means I'll start paying this, I'll start paying that.
Honestly,
From
I hear that a lot with business owners that they take payment to their personal accounts because they want to elude company income tax. So I understand that standpoint, but it happens more often than not that businesses are run as part of the owner's personal business, in the sense that a business entity will still be taking payment in a personal bank account, and it's such a big problem that I think always impedes business growth. But that being said, I feel like from what you've been saying, what I've glimpsed is that for you to really grow as a business, you need to have your financial structures in place, and that also would we then I'll say for you to grow as a business, you need financing or funding goes hand in hand with growth. I know that there's some businesses that scale to billion naira revenue annually without external capital
from
injection. But then most of the time, the reality for most businesses is that you would need capital injection to grow your business to a certain point. So, what advice would you have, aside what you've said already? What advice would you have for businesses that are looking to structure for business growth that need to be mindful of the potential that they would need external capital injection into their companies?
Yeah, thank God you mentioned that. I mean, it's not compulsory, and again, that's another myth that for a business to run or for a business to grow, you need to raise money. Not necessarily. It depends on your type of business. If you're into a credit line business, for example, of course you need capital because the demand will continue to increase. You need if you're in a cash based business, but if you're not necessarily. And I'll give you another example. Calendly, right? Calendly is owned by a fellow Nigerian who then became an American. Calendly grew up to today on bootstrapping, right? And today he makes about 85 million USD in revenue and has over 10 million customers, right? So but it requires a lot more dedication, focus, and discipline to build a business without any form of additional external funding. And it also requires you yourself to
Yeah.
have some sort of decent capital, right? Again, these things vary, depends on the type of business. Of course, you are not trying to open a bank with bootstrapping, definitely not, 25 billion naira minimum capital, right? So it really just depends. What was the other thing you asked me?
I asked that what structures do you need to keep in place if you have the type of business that will need capital injection?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So if you are now going to raise money, then it becomes more important. Those become more important, right? Those financial
Yes.
visibility that we said will becomes more important. But also more importantly in structuring is legal.
Hmm.
Because if you are going to bring in, look, in fact, and I hope that I can use examples of I try to avoid using Nigerian examples, but in this case I think I can. If you read up on the go and read the story of Health Plus and what happened to Health Plus, right? It was
Yes. It was a big story
yeah,
2 years ago.
that was just a case of legal oversight. I don't know whatever happened back end, but those kind of things happen when you do not tie your legal side um
Yes.
very 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 tight, right?
Yes.
Because you would need multiple agreements, you would need clauses that protect you, that protect your business in the future. Again, we always remember the business is different from you because you can be removed. And again, there's another example of a tech founder who was recently removed because of something that happened in his office, right? So he's no longer the CEO. So if at the beginning he had agreements with his shareholders or anybody else that assume that he is automatically the CEO is equal to the company or the company is equal, he would have lost all round, right?
Yes.
So you need, again, back to what I was saying. I think I didn't finish that statement, that you need an accountant as a friend. I always say this everywhere I go. As a startup founder, you need a lawyer as a friend. You need a strategy person, right? Like me or like Tolani as a friend. And then, you need somebody who is good with business development. You yourself should be that person, right? At the beginning of your business, there shouldn't be any reason why you cannot do your sales, why you cannot be out there selling, looking for investor. Now, aside legal, if you're also looking for money, right, you would need a proper structure around management. You can't be raising serious funding and um you are giving vibes that you are giving vibes to your investor that you are the only one behind the show. You have to demonstrate that there is a team structure in place, right? And the team structure doesn't necessarily mean you must have co-founders, right? It simply means that you, as the founder and the CEO, must demonstrate that aside you, there are other people, right? Those other people can be the head of finance, they can be somebody who is managing your technical operations, can be somebody who is managing customer, can be somebody managing accounts. But usually investors would like to see that you have solid skills and capacity on your management team. They want to be sure that if I'm giving you this money, you'll be able to manage this money, not just you as an individual now, but the company has capacity, end to end capacity to be able to manage the money that they give to you. And how do you demonstrate that? By demonstrating that you have the technical competence first and foremost. So most likely you will be the one to demonstrate that technical competence, or you have somebody on your leadership team who can demonstrate that technical competence. On another side, you are collecting money, so you have to demonstrate that you can manage that money. And how do you demonstrate that? Is by showing financial competence. So you need an accountant on your team, or you need somebody who can speak finance language, right? Who can demonstrate that, look, if my investor gives me this money, I can account for this money in the way that is to the benefit or to the best interest of my investor, right? You also need to be able to demonstrate that you have other team members, right, who would handle other things that will make the business. So again, the business is like a house. There are multiple pillars holding on across different segments, right? So, so that's just what it is, really. The summary of it is: first, you need to demonstrate team, management. You need to demonstrate, because when you're asking people for money, you need to be able to convince them that is beyond you, this business will survive, right? And that, again, going back to the analogy of a house, that you have already thought about all the multiple pillars that hold the house. You've thought about the finance, you've thought about the technical operations, you've thought about the sales, and you have people who can effectively manage your investors' money. Because when an investor is giving you money, they want to be sure that you have put in place the team and the structure and the governance that can manage that funding.
Hmm. Thank you so much for that, Ayo-Bankole. Sorry that I had a break in transmission. Uh, Power holding corporation struck again.
Na Naija we dey.
Um, what did you say?
Na Naija we dey.
Sadly. Anyway, that being said, so in your opinion, do you think what you're saying essentially is the onus is on the business owner to achieve these business structures that are required for growth? Or do you think an external party can come into the company to help develop these structures that are needed for business growth?
So it depends. If you're at your very early stages, and you have the capacity to put in place these structures right from the beginning, then you can, and you do it little by little, and then it's important you set up a board of advisors who can then advise you, possibly even pro bono if you are able to get that. And then as you grow, you begin to compensate them. Right? However,
Yes.
if you have built to growth stage, you are already, you yourself, you are the cause of the lack of structure. Structure becomes a cultural thing, and the CEO or the founder or the top management members are usually the biggest custodians or enablers of culture. So no
Yeah.
matter what you are telling yourself, that thing you are not you are seeing in your business that you don't like, it is you Gogon that is causing it. So it's
Mm-hmm.
difficult for you to transform yourself. So it's always easier to have an independent party come in, to advise you, to help you re-engineer, your business for growth or for change or for structure, right? That's one of the things that, in fact, that's our major core, in our line of business, enterprise transformation. And um, literally all our clients are on referral because of the type of, the
Understood.
in-depth expertise that we have built in that space. So if you don't want to spend that much money later in life, it's better you start doing it by yourself at the very
Investing in
beginning.
it now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how long do you think it's if a business has gotten to a point where their structure is damaged or they need to work on their structure, how long will it take to turn around the business structure or improve the current structures they have in place, from the shortest time possible that you've experienced or the longest period of time for them to be able to balance in the business or achieve business growth? That is the last question.
So thanks a lot for that. So again, these things are not black and white. So it really depends on the size of your business and the
Mm-hmm.
scope of the restructure. So there are so many elements of restructuring. For example, your books may be very fine, your finance may be very fine. It may just be a people issue that you have. You just want to put in, maybe you just don't have structure. You just been recruiting people anyhow. Nobody knows who is reporting who. Nobody knows. So those kind of, it may just be that you want to do. It may be an end-to-end redesign of your organization, which will then also depend on how many people you even have, how much revenue you are making. So again, these things depend, but on the average, it will take between 4 to 12 weeks on the average, in between, give or take a little. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting perspective. So do you have any further insights that you have for us aside structuring the finance and legal and the what have you? So do you have any final comments for us as regards structuring your
I have
business
a
for growth?
final comment. Tolani has money. Bila. If you have a small business, you are looking for money, go and build Tolani. She has money. But I
I
think
want
that
to know this. That
people
being
need to.
said, before you even say any final comment, let me say Ayo-Bankole has money. Bill him. If you see him in public, just hold his trouser
It's
and
too
carry him because he
late.
has.
I have already casted you. Whatever you're saying, I already know you're just trying to get back.
Ayo-Bankole is an enterprise business consultant. He has Caladium Consulting. He consults for only big companies. Bill him for
No,
that one.
that's not true. I
Then he has
consult
Fed Gap. Is it Fender Gap? What's the name of your
Feather
financing?
Gap. Feather
Fender
Gap.
Gap. So Fender Gap is an invoice discounting company where if you have an invoice from a business that is validated, you can go to Ayo-Bankole. Ayo-Bankole will give you the money. Like somebody said, we're going to build the. So no, when you see him outside, also you see money. And
It
not
is
only that, he has
investors' money that
SME
I'm giving.
Bootcamp
Oh. It is
on
investors' money
Saturday.
that I'm giving. Oh. It is not my money. Oh. It is investors'
They are
money.
coming
Oh.
for
Don't
you.
cover me. Oh.
They are coming for you. Don't worry. People know the truth. People that know you, they know the truth about Kole. You have made money in this Nigeria. So you can say your
Amen.
final words. Same.
But I mean, just last thoughts, right? Please, if you are running a small business in this part of the world, it's not easy at all. But don't give up. Is my network going on in and out?
No, you're perfect. I'm hearing you.
Okay, but don't give up. It's very critical that you don't give up. There are times when you will be frustrated, you will go broke, you would literally want to just give up. Now there is also, yeah, that's the aspire to perspire side. Now coming to the strategy side, because I'm a strategy person, you also need to know when to quit, right? Some of the world's biggest entrepreneurs have quit at certain points in time. So so there's what we call the founder's instinct, right?
Hmm.
you know when you are building something, your instinct keeps guiding you. And again, it's not this is not it is a recognizable and data backed principle in strategy. Founder's instinct is the most important when you are starting a business, right? And when you are running it at the early stages. So when your instinct tells you that it's time to let this go and go and survive, right? It is important to know when to quit so that you don't lose everything and even your life in the
Which
process,
one you
right?
are ahead?
Yeah, so please, life first to abeg, and then every other thing will follow. But
Don't
other than that,
entertain yourself
don't
with
just
this.
succumb to minor pressures and give up easily. It's a marathon. It's not a race. It's not a sprint. Don't also look at other people and benchmark yourself because somebody, and then you go and run rat race and go and kill yourself. Don't come and go and die. All right. Thank you very much.
Ayo-Bankole, it was amazing having you on this business leaders webinar. We really appreciate your time, and we look forward to seeing you at the Lagos SME Bootcamp next Saturday.
Yes,
Yeah,
so
we know that it's going to be amazing, and we're going to collect a lot of free money on that
we
day.
go bad.
So we'll all be present.
You haven't pushed our flyers to your community people, to
Run us money now.
your fellow rich. Um,
See, big shots. Is you are your Bankole that are calling big shots
you
in the
guys a
industry,
big
not
shot now.
me.
How can I be big shot with my filler like last one? You know, see
My
me
question is not big shot. Exactly why you're a big shot, Ayo Bankole.
in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Anyway,
Amen.
thanks a lot. Thanks a lot
Yeah,
for
thank you
having
for coming, and thank you for making the time. And also thank you everyone that joined. If you watch at this point, please attend Ayo-Bankole's Lagos SME Bootcamp. I know there are already 1,000 people that have signed up, so I don't even know why I'm advertising for you. You don't need my community people. You are enough. You work on community.
me.
So yeah.
Bye bye.
All right, bye. Thank you. Yeah. So we heard from Ayo-Bankole today, CEO of Caladium Consulting, and also the convener of Lagos SME Bootcamp, which is happening next week Saturday. Um, if you can make it, try to make it. Find out more on his social media pages. Just to goes to say that I hope that you got enough insights from our guest today and myself as well on what it takes for you to achieve business structure that will be required for your business to grow. That being said, my name is Tolani Thomas-Allinson, CEO, founder, principal consultant at Halisi Consults. You know what we do: business planning, pitch deck financials, sales and marketing services, financing advisory. If you need any of this, just click the link in the bio below, or send us a message on Instagram, and we'll be happy to attend to whatever your business needs. Till next time, thank you for joining. Bye.